Hello. Okay, it's time for the Sunday morning boot review, I guess. It might not be morning by the time this posts. I don't expect it to be a very long video. I was having difficulty with the editing program the other day when I was doing the nautical clothing videos. So in this one, it won't matter because I don't have a slideshow, but going forward, if those of you who watch this one watch future ones, uh, if I have relevant pictures, I'll put them in the community menu instead of having the slideshow at the end. I don't really certain boots I guess require more pictures than others for comparison and whatnot. And in the thumbnail, I put the picture of the boot next to the AdTech Logger boot instead of a Cowboy boot, just to show a size comparison, not because I'm going to be going head to head with these boots, but basically, I'm trying to show, even though this has a logger heel, that I'm showing that the height of this boot, is a standard 8-inch, basically combat style boot, and so you can see that this is a much taller boot. Not that you can't tell that when I'm holding it up, but for those of you who are, oh, okay, this is pretty, pretty steep. So going back before I started doing the logger boot videos, chronologically in my personal life as opposed to my video editing, which these are not necessarily in the proper order because technically I should be doing a boat shoe video right now to go with the nautical clothes stuff, but I'll do that next week. And instead I'm doing kind of more of a cowboy safari boot instead, whatever. That I should have done sooner though, because now we're already kind of into snake season. Anyway, so just briefly about logger boots, if you're new or whatever. This is kind of the standard combat boot shaft, and a lot of logger boots will come in an 8-inch shaft, but a lot of the fire service or other jobs may require a 10-inch shaft, which is about to here, which is still not this. The reason I bought this boot was for two-fold, where like this I can just wear as a regular hiking boot or whatever. This is obviously more of a commitment. I wanted kind of a safari looking boot, like a classic safari looking boot, but I also wanted something kind of snake proof. And so this is, instead of leather, this is this snake proof. I don't know if that's nylon or Kevlar or what exactly. I forgot way back when I first ordered it. But of course, it has this, decoration, and the whole these whole pull-ons are very much old style cowboy boots. They kind of went out of favor, and I think they're kind of coming back now. And also a square toe instead of a more pointy toe. Again, the square toe very popular with the cowboy boots in like the 70s, and then the pointy ones kind of got more popular in the late 70s and the early 80s, and then it was like, oh, you have square toes on your boots, you're a dork, you don't look cool. And now the square toes are all the rage again, apparently. And so that's coming back, and typically more comfortable, especially if you're going to be riding all day and stuff, and just don't look as cute when you're at the John Travolta dance club or whatever. The issue I have, and then the back, I guess this back is like some kind of plastic composite. The front is leather, so you can see it creased already when I tried it on. So the issue I have, because I have an issue with every single boot I review, that's kind of the whole point of the channel. And then the decorated, apart from obviously it looks more like a cowboy boot than a safari boot. And let me just show the tread. It has decent tread, more than a typical cowboy boot. A typical cowboy boot, you're going to have a rubber trucker sole, fine for walking, or a leather sole, better for dancing. This has a not super treaded, but still walkable sole. Obviously, boots like this are supposed to be meant for riding horses. but this doesn't have a very much block heel. Obviously, a logger heel is a more extreme heel. You wouldn't necessarily have a heel quite that high on a cowboy boot, but typically a cowboy heel is pretty close to this, so your stirrups will catch. And so, never mind the debris in the heel of that one. And so, yeah, not necessarily the best heel for horse riding, not necessarily the best outsole for hiking. So my idea to kind of use this as a hiking boot hasn't really come to fruition. But the bigger issue than the sole being what I was about to talk about, that it's a decent snug up front. It fits me almost like exact. Like I thought it was going to be way too big in the front, and that would be the issue, especially with the square toe. But actually, the issue is so far the back. I don't know how much this is going to mold to my heel and hold, because when I put it on, I'm getting a lot of slippage here, and there's literally no way to tighten it here. Now, the issue I had with the other logger boots, of course, was that they were too narrow here. And this was the Drew's boots video I did about a month ago. So if you want to look at that, they were so tight in here that I could not even get my foot past, because my heel was getting caught here and my toes were down here. And people were saying, "Oh, there's something wrong with your feet." It's like, no, I can get my foot in a boot if I have room to get my foot in a boot. So still a little annoyed at Drew's, but we won't dwell on it. Like I said, you can watch that video. It's 40 minutes long, but you only need to watch the second half if you don't want to hear me complaining about this boot and other things. Anyway, but so what we have here is we don't have leather here. So I don't know if thicker socks will help. That might be super uncomfortable here. I don't know if there's something I can put in the heel here that will kind of correct that. I haven't had an excuse to really wear these yet to be able to do that kind of follow-up review yet. This is another preview more than a review. But even though I've had these for a couple of years and didn't end up really using them, even though I've, almost stepped on snakes more times than yeah, other things that could happen on a trail. But overall, a nice design. I mean, I don't necessarily care for this contrast, kind of dorky, since this is, decent leather, and this seems like decent leather. This company's been around for since 1880 something or whatever. I did a Lacrosse rain boots video back in January or whatever it was. So if you haven't seen that one, you can go back and check that one out, where I already kind of reviewed this brand in a different style of boot. Now I don't know, other anything much about their company history or anything other than just these were the ones that were available on Sportsman's Guide in my price range. So these were the ones I got, and of course this color matches pretty much anything I own. With this being a little tall up here, you might be tucking your pants in. So maybe if you have jodhpurs or skinny jeans or something, it might work a little better than trying to get a, a straighter leg jean over this. If you have, those kind of wide, baggy ones, it might fit a little easier, because obviously, again, not like a safari boot that's going to be fitted, or a classic English riding boot where the leather will be much more of a straight shaft. Here we have this extreme. So if you have army pants where you're gathering at the bottom, like I like to wear a lot when I'm hiking, although they're kind of getting harder to find now, especially in the larger sizes, that would work maybe a little easier with this than a standard pair of straight leg jeans. Obviously, boot cut jeans in this are just going to be a nightmare. If you're the last of the holdouts who still wears boot cut jeans, you might be in for a rude awakening. But again, a big seam here, which, usually I would expect to see maybe the seam down the back, but I guess there wasn't really much they could do about that. They wanted to make it a little more aesthetically pleasing in the front, so they put the seam on the side. And this not being, leather or whatever, you get this. And the inside, you can't really, not going to be able to see much, but it has a synthetic lining all the way down. I assume that will be somewhat sweat wicking, moisture wicking, I hope. especially with a shaft this tall, your leg has nowhere to breathe. So you're going to be either wearing it with shorts or not. I don't know, however you want to negotiate that. So at least this will absorb hopefully some of your leg sweat and then dry without totally saturating in whatever this material. But this not being all leather, you'd be more concerned with making sure down in here is getting properly aired out. Probably, I don't know. I get a lot of people, I think, say put the shoe trees in immediately. I like to let things air dry for a little while before I put in the shoe trees. I don't know if that hurts this more or not. But with a boot like this, obviously this is not a fashion boot in any way, shape, or form. So wouldn't worry about it too much. And yeah, like I said, I'll try and get them out and wear them a little bit out in the heat and the dust and see how they do and try and give a review, a few months down the road. So, check back in July maybe. And I guess that's about all I have to say about that.